Hi, my name is Ashton Bowen, and I am classified as a junior at UTSA, pursuing a degree in communication. With this degree in the future, I hope to get a job in the film industry, whether it be screenwriting or directing or producing or anything along those lines, just anything in the film industry, because my two passions are writing and film, and I hope that with this degree, I'm able to combine those two into a career. A time when I realized that I could be considered a hero was at my work at a daycare when I learned that a 2 year old boy in my class had learned to love to come to school because of me and the impact that it had on him. So when I first got this job, I was hired on my first day of as a freshman in college ever, and I looked for this job specifically because of the convenience of it. It was 2 to 6:30 every day, and worked with my school schedule. I'd take classes in the morning and would work in the afternoon with weekends off. And it was at my church, which I had been going to since I was 7 years old. So I was familiar with it. I was familiar with the facility. I was familiar with the program and everything. So when I first got this job, it was for convenience. Also, I had zero experience whatsoever working with kids. Um, the only kid I had ever really come across was my niece, who was 2 years old at the time. And other than that, I was clueless to what it was like to take care of a kid. So on my first day after getting hired, I was immediately thrown into a classroom with 22 2 year olds, which with only two teachers, and one of them would now be me. And so I knew that it was going to be a huge learning curve, especially having no experience. So I was basically left to learn it on my own and figure out what would work and what wouldn't. So in the very beginning, I obviously had very low expectations of myself and what I could do. I also didn't know what to expect of the job. So I was completely surprised by what I experienced there, and the difficulty that it was. But I eventually, um, and I would uh, those low expectations of myself were very obvious in the first few months due to the fact that I would make mistake after mistake after mistake, and in this environment, mistakes are very obvious and had to be pointed out in order for you to learn from your mistakes, which was okay, but it was very disheartening knowing that I didn't seem to be succeeding at this job. However, I started to learn what was working and what wasn't working, and things in the classroom would change, and I had to adapt, and I learned how to do all that. And I realized that my job was to keep these kids entertained, and however I could do that is what would work. And so I knew that I could, if I just had fun with it, then they would have fun too. And eventually I started to love my job and the kids and see them growing and learning and interacting with me, and learning. They were learning to talk and have conversations, and everything about the job was just really fun for me. And that knowing that I had an impact in their lives was very rewarding to see. However, at the start of this semester, I was told that I was no longer going to be able to continue working there due to the fact that my new school schedule no longer worked with the daycare schedule. So I had spent a year and a half there, and I had grown attached to these kids, and I was no longer going to be able to work there at the start of this semester. So it was super sad knowing that I'd have to leave them, but I knew that I would have to tell the parents in the classroom so that way they could know what to expect of the change that was coming for them. Um, when I told one of the parents, one of the moms of my kids, she was super disheartened about it because I came to learn that her 2 year old son, who used to cry and cry, even about the thought of being at school, and would cry and cry when was dropped off in the morning. He started to start begging to come to school on the weekends, and he always wanted to be at school because he wanted to see me. And her telling me that was just making it so much harder to leave, but it also helped me learn the impact that I had on these kids and realize that I had a passion for also making a difference in people's lives, no matter how small, whether it was the mom or even and the kids and everyone like that. And just the difference that I was making made the job that much more rewarding and fulfilling. Even though I started this job with such low expectations and no experience, I learned that this is something that I was passionate about and that I love doing, and that of it, like the lessons that I learned and everything from it were the most rewarding, and I wouldn't give that up. Three goals that I have for this class in persuasion are to learn the effects and the usage of persuasion in everyday life. Also to be able to grow my skills and to be able to communicate more effectively, and to better understand and appreciate daily communication and its usage in everyday life and the meanings of our communication.